I'm in the Gatehouse Gallery, part of Elizabeth College, and in front of me I can see a netball pitch full of students, and behind me I can hear cars passing, but around me is Ron's work.
For me, it was more of a calling. I mean, I just wanted to bear witness to the world, to be a voice out there that I could make images and then show them to people and say, this is what's happening. That was my thing. It was more almost like a social justice cause than it was anything else.
Brings me back to the Jim Crow era.
This work that I'm doing now with my father's work is about remembering a time that was not so pleasant in the U.S., but the time that my dad lived in during Jim Crow, and then using those images to speak to today's world, what's going on today in the U.S. And it's always been about communication for me. It's always been about education to a certain extent, especially on African-American life.
Images of strong, powerful, some sensitive, some emotional, some intimate African-Americans look into my eyes.
This is probably the most difficult work I've ever made. It's different than being a photojournalist where you go out and you point your camera at a thing or at an event, or you take the camera and then you record that history of whatever's going on. With these images, I'm actually creating the history and reinterpreting the history, because all these, for the most part, are constructed images. They're not things that I do in Photoshop, or they're created manually.
There's pieces of present cutouts and captions, and using different layers of imagery.
Hopefully, people that see it will inform their knowledge of the situation or of the subject.
Another location I visited for the Guernsey Photofest is in Candy Gardens. It's the Candy Museum in the Greenhouse Gallery, and that's where the Swedish artist Hannah Modi's work is.
The walls are like, it's a round floor, it's a round space. So you're like surrounded by the pictures, and it doesn't have any start or beginning, and I think it works in that way. It should always challenge the viewer, I think, and I think they did a beautiful job.
When I step into the space, it immerses any visitor. It's the perfect type of space to have your photographs, your work. They're surrounded by these faces and snapshots of people's lives, of people's stories, of different locations.
My kind of photography is that I want to express the feelings that I have through other people. I actually have to meet people to feel and to be able to create photography.
And some of these images are really intimate. They're a man smoking a cigarette, naked, laid across his bed with subtle lighting.
A lot of people I've photographed, they tell me a lot of things. They tell me secrets sometimes. I don't use the secrets in the text or any way, but that makes me get the trust and the intimacy in the pictures.
Steps away from the hustle and bustle is another exhibit for the Guernsey Photofest 2021. In Health Connections shop, just a little nook in the corner, is Sylvain Grandjean's work.
For my exhibition now in Guernsey, we build a cabinet de curiosité with not a lot of lights and some old furnitures, and all my pictures are very little, so people have to come very close to see all the details.
It looks as if we're stepping into someone's study, into someone's reading room.
I always working with old photographs. I found them in the flea market. I don't take pictures, I use pictures. They are, of course, unique. I don't have the negative. I have to work slowly and traditional way, I cut, I glue, I hand coloring.
Adorned on the walls are pictures from flea markets. They're on tables, they're on mantelpieces, they're in glass cabinets.
People on my photograph die twice. I bring them back to life. Of course, it's a strange way, because I mix several people into one picture. I can take the head of one guy and put on the body on another, thing like this. But it's a little bit. I like to. It's a game.
Pictures of couples with a skeleton all over its body, or a portrait of a school children photo, and on the back there's all these funny faces.
I can do circus now because I'm a little bit old, but I put the circus, my circus family on the walls.